Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. As you maybe can guess from my lipstick color and attire, I am starting a reading vlog for witchy books, and I'm so excited about this. So we're getting ever closer to Halloween, and with that, it is definitely time for the witchy reads. And with these, all of these are more on the cozy side. They do have quite prevalent romance subplots, so don't expect like scary witches or anything like that. But I think the cozy witch trend is now very well established. I have done a video like this before a couple of years ago, which I will link down below if you want to go check it out. I had read three kind of romancy, witchy, cozy books for that, and the results were a little bit mixed. So I thought, you know what, I need a redo. I've chosen three new, as I said, romancy, cozy, witchy books to read for this vlog, and we're going to see whether we will find a new favorite. So, the books that I want to discuss with you, we have A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandanna. This is a new release, and honestly, the one book I was waiting for to start this vlog. Then we have Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This is very similar. We have like a contemporary witchy setting, and this one also recently just had a sequel released. So if you enjoy this one, you can go into the sequel immediately, which is always great. And last but not least, I have The Honey Witch, which has more of a historical setting, but I still thought would fit into the romance cozy witch situation quite well. So we will discuss these three books. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on them, then please stay tuned and have fun watching. So I'm now halfway through the guide, the Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. These long names are a little bit of a struggle for me, apparently, but I wanted to tell you a little bit of what this book is about now that I have read the first half. In this book, we are following a girl, later woman, called Sarah. We start out with her when she's a teenager and she lives with her aunt. Her parents are kind of like traveling the world and they don't really feel like they have to be like parents. And so they dumped her off at her aunt's magical inn. It's not magical yet when she gets there, but she's the witch, so she will turn it into a magical inn. One day she goes into the garden and she finds that her aunt has very suddenly passed away. And she's like 16. She's like, I can't live by myself. I can't deal with this. So she uses her very immense magical power to bring her aunt back. Now, she was kind of like the best, like most powerful witch of her generation. And with this spell that is technically illegal, a lot of her magic disappears and it does not come back. So now she has only like kind of a residual amount of magic left, and she's kicked out of the magical guild, so she doesn't have access to all of the like texts and stuff to figure out if there is a way to get her magic back, and she just lives her life with her aunt now. And then we have a little bit of a time jump of 15 years, so now she's in her 30s and still running the inn with her aunt, and then some things happen that make it possible that she might get her magic back. So this inn is like really cute because she put kind of a spell on it as a child that only people who really need it can even find the inn. So that in itself I think is like so cute because it makes for like very interesting characters that show up at the inn. And currently we have two people living there who are kind of like guests for the inn. One is a knight who works at a Ren fair, and the other one is a black grandma who likes to garden but has no idea how to garden. And she is kind of in love with Sarah's aunt, but the aunt doesn't really see it. So that's kind of cute. And then, yeah, we also have Theo, who is Sarah's nephew, I believe, and he also started living with them because he's also a witch, and his parents are like really, really afraid of his magic. So he went to stay at the inn as well. So that's kind of like our cast of characters. Then we have a witch that is trapped in a fox body. She tried to curse someone and it fell back on her, and she has been a fox ever since. And we also have a resurrected chicken skeleton. That lives at the inn as well. And then when we get into the story a little bit, we have some new people showing up at the inn, and that is Luke and his sister. His sister is autistic, and they're both witches as well. So the sister doesn't really understand that not everybody is supposed to see her magic. And so the parents kind of don't want to keep her around anymore because they are scared that people will see her use magic. And he has a job where he also doesn't really have room for the sister, basically. So he just needs a little bit of time to figure things out, to get a new place where they could live together and stuff like that. So they also just need the inn for a while. And he also might be able to help with the whole magic situation, because like the first book has nothing to do with this one, but that one was a grumpy sunshine romance and I thought it was very cute. But this one is more of a grumpy romance, and I think it's very cute. I'm really enjoying it. I definitely like the vibes and the story. I like that there's still like some stakes built up with the magical guild and with this one guy in particular that was like the most powerful witch, but then Sarah showed up and kind of challenged that and was like equally powerful, even though she was still like growing up. And so he has always been super happy that she made this mistake and lost her magic. But now with her trying to get the magic back, it's also the question of like, what would this person do when suddenly there is a very powerful witch again? So there is definitely some stakes. There is some, just some stuff going on kind of like in the background that we discover with the characters. And we also have this kind of like nonsensical spell that they're now trying to figure out that might help Sarah. So I'm having a great time with the book. I will read the rest of it now. We do have a bit of a rough day because we have to go to the vet. So I think this book is like what I need. It's probably not what the cat needs, but we'll figure it out. And I'll talk again with you once I've finished the book. So I am back and I have finished reading A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. So I wanted to give you this final update to let you know how it went, and it was absolutely magical. I really loved my reading experience with this book. It is just a hug in the book, but I felt like the fantasy elements and the stakes of the book were also done really well. And there were moments where I was like really, really afraid for the characters, but I was like, hey, I'm reading a cozy book, so it's going to be all right somehow. It's going to be all right somehow. But I definitely got scared in a couple of moments of the book where I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen now? I don't want these people to get hurt. I had a lot of fun with this book. I think it is cozy, it is sweet, it is still like very interesting. It has a very exciting plot line that is still like wrapped up in so much coziness that it doesn't feel too stressful. So I would say the perfect autumnal read. I had the best time with this book. I gave this one 4.5 stars as I did the first book of the author. I still think I enjoyed this one a little bit more. However, that might also be a little bit of a recency bias. But I really, really like this book. I think that it has like great messages about like coming together, supporting each other, kind of like building up your family and the people you want to protect and love and spend your time with. And also about like kind of like responsibility and the kind of weight we put onto our own shoulders, maybe that others don't even want us to carry, but we do it because we think we should or we have to. So, yeah, there was a lot of like great stuff in the book. I think that the kind of connection of the main character's magic to her view of herself and the way that there is this like pivotal moment where she realizes something about herself that is just so beautiful, and you kind of can see it coming, but it doesn't really hinder the enjoyment when it actually happens, I think. So in the end, with the plot, there was actually something that happened in the end that, even though it was kind of set up earlier on in the book, I didn't see it coming. It actually surprised me. So I really love that, because usually I'm very good at like picking up cues and like in kind of like seeing where a story goes. So whenever a book actually manages to surprise me, where I'm like, oh my God, now I see that you set this up, but I didn't see it in the moment. I love that. I think that is a book well done. So yeah, it was just great. I had such a great experience with this book. I highly recommend. I'm a little bit worried now for the other books for this vlog, because I feel like they will have a very hard time living up to this. So I think that's all I'm gonna say. Oh, maybe like one more thing for the romance. I wouldn't say that the romance is like the most important part of the story. There's definitely always a little bit of a sprinkling of it in a lot of the moments we see, but it's not something that carries the plot forward so much. I did really like the chemistry of the two characters. As I said, it's more of a like grumpy romance, which I appreciate as a grumpy person. I did really like them together and kind of like their way they had to figure out. For spicy scenes, there isn't really too much. There is like one scene, but it's kind of fade to black. So you don't really get into the nitty gritty of like what goes where and when. So if you're worried about that, or if you're looking for that, I just wanted to kind of give you an estimation of like what you can expect from this book. So there isn't like too much going on, but there is definitely the tiniest little sprinkling of spice as well. So now I think I want to quickly go into a couple of spoilers, because I feel like a lot of people will pick this book up. So let's discuss a tiny little bit, like just for a minute or so. But yeah, for the people who have not read this book yet, you can use the chapters to jump ahead to my spoiler-free thoughts of the next book for this little experiment. But for the people who have read this book, just let's exchange a couple of thoughts. So the one thing I really didn't see coming, I just wanted to mention that because it like really surprised me. And again, spoiler warning, but when she is in the duel with the evil guy, what's his name? Alfred? Or something like that? I even forgot his name. He's like so unimportant to me. Albert? Maybe it's Albert. Whatever. When they're in the duel, I was like, what's her plan? Like, what is she doing? She's like, I don't need to win this. I just need him to be in this situation. I was like, what is she planning? What is she doing? And then she does the spell where she takes away his magic. Like, honest to God, I thought she would turn him into an animal. I was like, oh, he's gonna be the next fox. But sadly, no. Sadly, she did the spell that would take away his magic, but it would also destroy her magic in the process. And I really did not see that coming. Like, even though they talk about that spell earlier on in the book, I never thought that this is what she would do, because like obviously this whole time she has been working to get her magic back, and it has just been a couple of weeks. This poor woman, and she gives it all up again. And yeah, I did not expect that to be kind of like the twist at the end. I would have liked it for like Cartharthus and stuff if we would have seen a little bit more of what his life looked like after he lost his magic. Like if we could just get a few more sneak peeks for the nosy people who want to see him suffer as he made other people suffer. Yeah, that would have been great. Like, we have this scene at the ball where he makes this like one guy Martin dance, even though he didn't like as a punishment basically. And you can really see like how much cruelty such an act needs for you to like actually do it. That was a lot. That was a lot. Like, he is really like portrayed as this like really evil guy who just thinks way too much about himself, and like he values himself way too much. And I would have liked to see that challenged just a little bit more. Like, obviously we have this like one speech that our main character does in front of the whatever they're called, not a tribunal, whatever, like their little magical gathering they have. She has this speech where she's like, hey, you have to like serve all the magical children, like do better. But I feel like this whole topic of these like magical families, all of their kind of like inbreeding, and I really like the idea that that doesn't mean they have more magic than others, but I would have liked it to be a little bit more explicit still, a little bit more of a critique of this kind of like billionaire class, if you want to call it that, of this magical world, kind of the old money people. I wanted a little bit more of that. And I think the bare bones of that were there, but it could have been, as I said, just more explicit in its commentary on that, and in kind of like showing us also, yeah, that their time is over. I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to see that. So overall, really enjoyed this book. I think that these characters were so cute. Also, when Nicholas gets turned into stone for like a second, and I was like, don't hurt that poor boy. Don't hurt that poor boy. Again, with his storyline, I think there would have been potential to make things a little bit clearer, because it is mentioned that he's from a family that is like very wealthy, and that their wealth is built on the pain of others as well. So again, this would have been an opportunity to make things even clearer, to make the social commentary even clearer. There were some moments like this whole like little pub story. So I think the racism part was definitely commented on, but I wanted the social class part to be commented on more in this book. Just a little bit, because it was set up to be that, and then I felt like it didn't quite reach where I wanted it to go. So overall, really great. We have Clemmy as well. Clementine, the fox. Now, I did expect a little bit more from the fox, I have to be honest, because like I love foxes, but the way that Clemmy is, her character, she's not cute. She's just not cute. Yeah, I was like, if you say like talking fox as kind of like a prompt for this book, I'm like, I expect something else, you know? And then the whole thing that she like went behind our main character's back and she told the evil Albert, Alfred, whatever his name is, guy, kind of their plan with the library and all. I don't know, like, I did like that in the end she comes around and that she's this like weird character, but also her then being like the chancellor of the guild, it just felt a little bit like, I don't know. I think you could have done a little bit more with that. But overall, this is a cozy book, so I don't expect it to go into these themes as heavily as like other fantasy books might. But still, it was super fun. It was great. It's the perfect fall read. And I've babbled on long enough, so I'm gonna let you go. And I will read the next book for this vlog, and we'll talk again soon. So I am losing daylight very fast, but I'm currently halfway through Rewitched, and I wanted to let you know how I feel about it right now. And first of all, let me tell you a little bit of what this book is about. Maybe a quick disclaimer, if it looks like I've been crying, is because I'm making soup and the onion was very oniony. So it's not because of the book, it's because of the soup. Also, my heating isn't on yet, so I'm fucking cold. Okay, that out of the way, let's talk about the book. So, in Rewitched, we follow a witch who is about to turn 30 years old when she learns that there is a secret magical trial that happens when you turn 30, where the kind of witch guild thingy that she is part of will determine whether she is worth her magic. And basically, if she is not, the magic will be taken away, and if she is, she can live happily ever after. So basically, in this world, we do have a finite amount of magic, and whenever a witch turns 15, they get their magic, and then they have 15 years to kind of explore and learn and try out what kind of magic fits them the best. There's like different branches of magic as well. And after these 15 years, when the person turns 30, then they are evaluated. But part of the evaluation is that you don't know it's coming. So they really want to see like what you're doing with your magic on your own. If you don't know, this is kind of a test. So our main character is completely taken aback by that. And when she goes in to have the test done, she doesn't do super well, and she knew that from the moment she learned about this whole thing, so she has been worrying about her magic being taken away. So in this whole process of the trial, we do have a whole jury of people, and then we have two women who are kind of leading this whole thing. Now, if I say trial, don't imagine that there is like tasks to fulfill so far. There might be some later on in the book, but for this first part, it's really just kind of like them going through memories to see what she did with the magic. However, one of the two women who are leading this whole thing is very understanding of the kind of struggles that our main character had and is trying to figure out a way to prevent her being stripped of her magic. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And as you might imagine, this book is very slow in a weird way. So I'm now halfway through and I'm at the point where I thought I would be maybe like 20% into the book, which is a little bit frustrating of a reading experience because you do know of that whole like trial situation and her possibly losing her magic from the start, like is like what it says on the back of the book and stuff. So you're just kind of like waiting for it all to play out. And I feel like now at the halfway point, I'm finally where it gets like interesting, where stuff will happen that I haven't foreseen. This whole situation, I am now starting to get really intrigued. Say goodbye to the cat. She's waiting for some dinner. Yeah. So basically, we get introduced to a new character around the halfway point. So I've literally just met that person, but his story is super intriguing. And I'm definitely very interested to see how that plays out now, because I think this is kind of like the turning point of the story. So I think from here on out, I'm gonna enjoy the book a lot more. I really am a little bit sad that it took so long to build this whole thing up. I also thought it would be a much shorter book, but this book is over 400 pages. So I'm now 200 pages in, and I really don't like it when I have to read 200 pages to get past the thing that was explained to me in the blurb of the book. So I'm right now feeling a little bit like miffed about it, but I'm also very hopeful for the second half. Now, this book, don't get me wrong, is full of whimsy, very cozy. Our main character works in a bookshop, and she has a little bit of a struggle there as well because she has managed this bookshop for many years, and the actual owner has offered that she could buy the bookshop, but she has not accepted, and so now the owner's son is taking it over, and our main character and and this new owner, they don't get along. They have like very different ideas of what this bookshop should be about. So we learn a little bit about that. Then we also have the roommate slash best friend of our main character that we learn a little bit about because they have like a very strong bond, but our main character never told her best friend that she is a witch. So there is also like this kind of like trust issue that we have. We do learn a little bit about the family history as well, as the mother and grandmother of our main character were very well known and beloved witches, or are, because like the grandmother has passed away, the mother is still alive. So there is quite a lot around our main character and this like central plot that we learn. We also do have what I guess would be the love interest, Rune, who is kind of the police guy of this guild. I don't really know how I feel about him. From his like first physical description, I was like, no, that is not what I picture a hot guy to look like. So I'm kind of put off by him. What I do like is that he does seem to have a bit of a sense of humor, but he does like very misplaced things. And whenever the main character is like, hey, that was not a great idea that you just had, he actually does understand that. So that is a trait I can appreciate. It would be nicer if he wouldn't do the stupid stuff in the first place. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about him. I don't have like any feelings yet, so we'll see how that progresses. But mostly I'm now very intrigued by that new character. I want to know their story. I want to know what's happening, what's going on, because it's very mysterious. We do learn kind of the backstory, but then the backstory doesn't really fit up with what we see. I'm very intrigued. So I'm going to continue reading this book. I do have one more day tomorrow to finish it before my library loan ends. So we really have to speedrun this a little bit tonight and tomorrow, and then I'll be back. So yesterday I finished reading Rewitched, and so I'm here for the final update on that one. In the end, I did enjoy my reading experience with this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. I had some things I really liked about it and some things that I didn't really love about it, and so I think it was okay. It was a fun read, but I wouldn't say like run out and read it. It's not one of those kinds of books, but it is a fun time, and especially for like the autumn, like for October, it's actually perfect because the whole plot of the book is set in October. In this one, I feel like, I think in my last update I said that we have a new character pop up about halfway through the book, and that character actually brings in the like magical stakes, the actual storyline, a bit of a mystery, and also just like the nice cozy feeling. And so I personally think that just the pacing of this book was off because we should have gotten there much earlier. Like taking 45% of the book to just get there was just way too long, because up until that point I was kind of bored, but I did really enjoy the second half of the book because then we had like magical stakes, we had the mystery, and we do have more of a development with our main character as well as with the relationships that she has. I think the second half overall is much better than the first half of the book. However, there are still things that I didn't really love, even about the second half of the book, so I quickly wanted to mention those as well. And the first thing for me personally is that I did not like the romance, and I absolutely did not like the romantic interest. When he's first introduced and we get a little bit of a description of what he looks like, I was already kind of like, I don't like that. That's not my kind of man. But alrighty. So I decided to just see just be open-minded and see. But he does a lot of stupid things. It almost kind of reminded me of like Edward in Twilight, but then like always calling him out for it. He would just sneak in like dark corners and like follow her around, and when she finds out, she's like, don't do that, that is like creepy as fuck. And he would be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And then, you know, something happens and he's like, he made you cry, I'm gonna break his nose. And she does it and she's like, don't do that, like that is rubbish, like I can deal with my own problems. And he's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And it's just, it happens again and again and again, and pretty much all of their interactions are like that. And I did not like it. The other thing is that the first time, like this is a little bit complicated and it does venture a little bit into spoilery territory, but I try to keep it as vague as possible. But basically the first time they are a little tiny bit intimate with each other, they think that they're not sober. Let's just say that. So you as a reader also think that they're not like in their right minds while they do that. So that also always gives me a very icky feeling, because if you need like booze or a magic potion or whatever to talk about your feelings and act on your feelings, not so great. Not so great. And then also for the romance, this is very clean. There is like basically just this one scene where they make out a little bit, but there is like no spice at all in this book. And if you're not like buying into the relationship in the first place, I think that is good news, because yeah, no. So that's for the romance in general. And then there is a little bit in this book about time. So basically what we learn is that there seems to be a way to extend your lifetime through the coven. And it seems that the love interest actually did that. And so he talks about like centuries. So ew, first of all, but then also it makes no sense for the plot, because that would mean that he would have been there for like pretty much all of the like plot that is uncovered. And he is also treated by other people in the coven as like this new upcoming witch with like a lot of potential or something. And so he can't be older than these other people, but then the whole timeline makes no sense anymore. So I was very confused about that. Maybe I just misunderstood, but then it just wasn't explained very well. So that whole thing just got me a little bit wobbly with the whole like world building in itself. So I would say if you're interested in this book, just expect that this is a very clean, kind of slow burn, kind of like hate to love romance with a man that I could not get on board with. It does have magical stakes, it does have a bit of a mystery, it does have villains, and there is actually like a big fight at the end, which is very exciting. However, it takes a while to build that up, to actually introduce that into the story. I did really like the ending, I did really like the way it the reveals were going and stuff. I think that it avoided being too cliche, it did a little bit something different, which I appreciated. And if you don't like the main character, I think she does get more interesting, she has more development in the second half of the book. So maybe just give it a bit of a go. I think in general the book was a little bit too long. The first half should have been maybe the first third, if that at all. It just dragged out way too much in the beginning and we didn't need all that. But there's also a lot about like friendship and finding your people and, you know, all of that stuff, which is like heartwarming. And I think that the character that we do get introduced to about halfway into the book is so cute. Such a cute character. So I did really love that. There is a lot of talk about delicious stuff as well in this book. Always appreciate that for a fall read. I do love my fall treats. And so, yeah, I think it's a fun book, but not like mind-blowing or anything. So I think, do I want to go into spoilers with this one? I don't think that I have to. If you want to discuss the book, if you've read it, definitely let me know down below, but make sure you mark spoilers in your comments if you want to talk about something. But yeah, now we have one book left. Let's read it. So I'm now halfway through The Honey Witch, and I'm here to give you a quick update on this book, tell you a little bit of what this one is about. Now, The Honey Witch is a bit different from the other two books I read in this vlog, because this one actually has a historical instead of a contemporary setting. In this one, we are in the mid 1800s, I believe, around like 1830, 1840, something like that. So it does have this like kind of Jane Austen-y vibe in the beginning. We hear about balls, about husbands, about all of that. But very quickly, our main character changes scenery because she never really fit into her life. She never really fit into the society. And she learns that her grandmother needs her to come to her grandmother's place, which is in Ireland. And she needs to become the new honey witch because her grandmother is now very old and she feels that her strength is running out. So she's taking home our main character and training her to become a honey witch. Now, in this world, there is always kind of like two sides to keep the balance. So in this one we have honey witches and ash witches, and the honey witches get a lot of their power from honey and from bees and from nature and just like kind of the living thing, and then the ash witches get their power from kind of like the ashes and how new life can spring from the ashes, basically. So it's not like they're inherently like good and evil. It's more that their powers kind of complement each other, that one couldn't really be there without the other. However, the way that things have developed, the grandmother honey witch has a big rival who is an ash witch, and she's trying to achieve immortality, and that's not really how their magic is supposed to be. So they have this like big rivalry, and the ash witch kind of thinks that if she can get rid of all the honey witches, then she might reach that immortality. So we do have this kind of like backdrop, but the first half of this book is very, very slow. Very, very slow. If you're reading this for the romance, there is romance in this book, but it doesn't really get started until quite late in the book. So I would say maybe like 40%-ish when things start to like go into any kind of direction with that. So for the first part, I was like really surprised how slow it is. Like it's really taking its time, and it's really a very cozy read because of that. I think the historical setting also makes it feel very cozy, but it is very, very slow. Now, in this one, we also do deal a little bit with the grief of losing the grandmother. That's also something that happens in the first half of the book. I don't think it is a spoiler because that's the whole reason the grandmother gets our main character, is because she knows that this is going to happen. So that's definitely a bit of a theme. However, I wouldn't say it's like overwhelming. It also deals a little bit with loneliness because our main character is kind of like stuck on this little island thing. She can't really see her family, and the only people who come to her for a while are just customers. She doesn't really have anyone to talk to. However, she does have a childhood friend called August who lives in this town, and they haven't seen each other for many, many years. However, their friendship is still going strong, and so August introduces her to a girl called Lottie. Now, Lottie is an interesting character. You can definitely see that she has a lot of like childhood trauma. She is an orphan, and she grew up with August because his family took her in. There is like attraction between Lottie and our main character, so this is sapphic love, which we always appreciate. However, Lottie is just not a very nice person, so yeah, it's definitely taking that like I don't want to say enemies to lovers, but like Lottie is very antagonistic towards our main character in a way, and it is very easy to see at this halfway point who Lottie is and why she is the way she is. I think there is like some hints dropped, and the hints are very obvious. So I'm intrigued to see how long it takes before our main character may have a similar realization. It's very obvious. So yeah, we'll see about that. So I wouldn't say expect like an exciting, fast-paced, mysterious kind of read from this. It's very slow, very cozy, but also a little bit melancholy. And then, as I said, you have this kind of like antagonistic girl that our main character can't really get over. So I would say so far I am enjoying the book. I have found this like coloring app that I haven't used before. I have to thank my friend Daniela for that. I will link her channel down below. She also does some bookish content. She shared a picture from that coloring app that she did in Discord, and I have never tried these apps before, and I must say they changed my life. It's like very relaxing, and so I have this like this feeling with this book that, you know, you put it on, you open that little coloring app into a little cozy autumnal nature picture, and that's kind of the vibe, if you know what I mean. So I am enjoying it. I will continue listening to it. Today I'm gonna do a lot of cleaning, so I hope to get through a good chunk of this one, and I'll talk to you again once I finished it. So I just finished reading The Honey Witch, so I'm here with my final update for that. And unfortunately, I have to say that the ending of this book was quite disappointing for me. Now, when I say ending, I mean literally the last like 45 minutes of the book. I feel like the first however many hours of this book did not fit those last 45 minutes of the book. And I do kind of see that the author wanted to draw up the stakes and like really bring out the whole like true love kind of situation with it all. But for me, it just got too dramatic, too high stakes for a cozy book. And as I said, it just didn't fit in with the rest of the story. Like, I wasn't prepared for that kind of ending, considering what I had gotten from the book so far. So this book ultimately is very, very slow, and I didn't mind that. Maybe it's also because I listened to the audiobook that I just felt like I could go with the flow really well with this one. I didn't feel like it was dragging. It was just cozy, slow storytelling. However, the ending is so rushed and so over the top dramatic, and there's like such a high price to pay for everything that it clashed completely for me personally. If I had read this as a physical read, maybe it would have dragged a little bit more for me, but I can't really speak about that. The audiobook narrator also gave me a little bit of like Gillian Anderson vibes. I hope that's her name. From like her character in Sex Education. Like, sometimes the way the main character would say things exactly sounded like that character in Sex Education. So that was also a little bonus for me. In the end, I decided to give this book 3.5 stars. I think it could have reached more. Like, for the majority of the book, it did feel like a 4-star read for me, but the ending like really brought it down, unfortunately. Now, also something I think I didn't say in my first update is that even though this is a historical setting, this is a queer normative world. So I thought that was like very lovely to read about as well. And we do have couples of like every kind. We do have some couples where, you know, a man and a woman are together. We have gay couples where men and men are together. We have gay couples where women and women are together. So there's like lots of love going around in this book, and I absolutely enjoy seeing that. I think that it felt very well rounded. It didn't feel like forced or anything like that, and it's just lovely, you know, when you see people talk about relationships, like especially when I see a father talk like lovingly and proudly about their gay sons, that does something for me. So really enjoyed that part of the story as well. I think the plot does feel a little bit meandering, especially because I think I've mentioned that in the last update. I had a very clear idea of what is going on, and I was hoping that the main character would kind of catch up, but it does definitely take her until those last like 60 minutes or so of the book to finally figure out what's going on, like surprise, surprise. And so because of that, the plot feels more meandering because the main character is just like doing things that are coming her way. It's not really like a plan behind it. It's not really a plot to like really fight for her curse to be lifted or to really defeat the evil witch or anything like that. It's not that. It's just like the main character being in love, but knowing there's a curse and being upset about it. What I also found a little bothersome about the main character, especially towards the end of the book, is that she thinks everything is her fault. Like literally everything. And I found that to be quite annoying because if you have that kind of mindset, you can really put yourself in a corner where you think you can't do anything right anyway, so you don't even try. And that's kind of a little bit what the main character does. And I just really don't enjoy those kinds of characters, even though I know there's people out there who have these kinds of thinking and it's something they've learned, and that's fine. I just personally felt for this character it was a little bit much. Like, up until this point, nothing in her life had really gone really wrong. That's even something she says. And I didn't really understand how she's like so ill-prepared to deal with setbacks in a like emotional healthy way. Another thing that irked me a little bit with the story is the way the curse works. Now, we do have the curse. The curse says that no one can fall in love with her, technically. So when she starts having feelings for Lottie and Lottie starts to have feelings back, which isn't a spoiler, you know, this is a romance story. The way the curse kind of manifests with Lottie, I really didn't like how it mainly, not completely, but mainly responds to physical affection, like up to the point of like making out and like having like sexual interactions with each other. And it's not about like the feeling, or there is like scenes where the characters take care of each other and that doesn't activate the curse. And that really bugged me because love is not the same thing as a sexual relationship. I say as someone on the asexual spectrum. So yeah, I didn't really love that. I think it could have been more thought through in a way. Yeah, I didn't love that. I didn't love that. I mean, it's always nice to see people take care of each other, but for me, that is like the deepest, like showing off love. It's not the sex, sorry to say, it's like taking care of each other. So in my opinion, that should have set off the curse like nothing else. Last thing, and then I'm done, I promise, that irked me a little bit is for a book that is called The Honey Witch. And a person who takes her magic from honey, from the bees, from the land, from the nature. There is way too many dead bees in this book. And I will die on that hill. But taking all of these like little irksome things aside, I still had a really lovely time listening to this book, especially the first couple of hours where it's more like this slow storytelling, the falling in love, the finding friendship, the people coming together, the being one with nature and caring for others and all of that. That was lovely. I had a great time with it. And I think if you can accept that this book is not perfect, you will probably really enjoy it as well, especially if you love those more slow historical fantasy books. And with that, we have made it to the end of the video, and that means we have also made it to my final verdict and ranking of these 3 books. So this is going to be a little bit difficult because I'm having a hard time choosing like who's number 2 and number 3 for me. So I think in 3rd place, I will put Rewitched. I think it would be different if I had listened to this one on audio as well. I think I found it a little bit more challenging because I read it as an ebook, because I can forgive audiobooks quite a lot if it has like a good narration. So yeah, for me, but it's like very close. I have like very different feelings about these books, but like enjoyment wise, they're very close to each other. But I think third place is Rewitched. I think you will enjoy this one if you prefer a contemporary setting, if you like your men to be a little bit like Edward Cullen, but being made fun of, I guess. And if you like, you know, the whole like family and found family aspect and like having a quest in a way and like sitting down and learning new stuff and all of that, if you want a little bit more of that like contemporary woman in kind of like her first life crisis situation, then you will probably enjoy Rewitched. Then on second place, we have The Honey Witch. I think you will enjoy this one more if you like the historical setting, if you want more queer representation for sure. And I think that's what ultimately also gets me over the edge with that a little bit, because I do appreciate how queer this read was. If you like sapphic romance, if you like a kind of a grumpy love interest who tends to be mean, then you also probably like this one. Again, if you don't mind if it's a little bit more meandering, if you don't need the characters to be on a quest to solve something or win something or anything like that, then I think you will enjoy The Honey Witch. And last but not least, I think if you're a human being with feelings and you like witchy books, you will probably love A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, because that book is near perfection. I think it balanced everything so well. I loved the characters, I really liked the romance, I loved the whole like coming together, making room for each other, caring for each other. I loved the magical aspects, the fantasy aspects of this book. It was just great. So that is my definitive number one for this video. And I hope if you do pick up any of these books, I really hope it is Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. And with that, we have made it to the end of this video. I would love to hear your opinions on these books. Definitely let me know down below. Have you read them? Do you want to read them? How have you felt about them? I would love to have your input as well. Don't forget to leave a like, that always helps me out, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!